With its breathtaking landscapes and some of the rarest, most beautiful, most ferocious animals on the planet, America is still a place of extraordinary natural wonders to explore and discoveries to make. And for all of us filming Wild America, it's been a true adventure.
I'm Juan Antonio Rodriguez Llano, director of Wild America, a wildlife series in which we explore America's untamed natural world. Making Wild America has been a really great adventure and a wild challenge for this small team. Everyone has had to be a camera person, naturalist, and adventurer all rolled into one. Filming Wild America has presented us with many challenges. One of them, probably the most uncomfortable of them all, has been the fear factor. We have been in danger of being attacked, stung, bitten, and even eaten. These situations can provoke some pretty intense feelings. And in the whole of America, the animal that induces the most fear is the jaguar. This little figurine comes from the Barajas tribe, from the Amazon region deep in the American rainforest. For them, the jaguar is a true and feared god. But the jaguar is much more than just a myth. It's the feline with the strongest jaws on Earth. Its bite is more powerful than that of a tiger or a lion. It can easily crack open the skull of a deer or a calf. Best not to think what it could do to a person.
And getting pictures of jaguars was one of the most exciting and risky challenges we faced. We experienced a real sense of fear and excitement in Costa Rica. Almost by chance, we came across a turtle graveyard on a lonely beach. The turtles here were victims of a jaguar, which will have hunted them when they came onto the beach at night to lay their eggs. The shells of these reptiles, weighing more than 40 kilos, offer little protection against the jaguar's fearsome teeth and jaws. The jaguar will drag its kill into the jungle to eat it. The chances of getting shots of the jaguar that hunted these turtles were minimal. It would require both luck and courage. We all knew that somewhere, very nearby, there must have been several jaguars with their killer jaws and fangs. It's very exciting, of course, but at the time, it's also really scary. All we can do is wait for night to fall so we can transport our filming equipment. And to make the wait even worse, a spot of car trouble.
Están pasados los tornillos, necesitaríamos una llave de vaso. No, pero...
Finally, we make it to the beach. Luis Miguel and Pablo decide to take turns for a few nights.
Pues nada, aquí tenemos una tortuga recién matada por el jaguar y es probable que vuelva en unos momentos a seguir comiendo. Entonces, aquí la guardaremos para ver si podemos acabar grabando al feliz. Se va a iluminar con luz infrarroja para evitar que el animal recele con la luz blanca y esté tranquilo mientras come.
We never carry guns. We don't have protection, but our guide lives with the jaguars every day, and he says they're not a threat to us. So we have to believe him. It's dangerous, but we can't miss this opportunity. We know that every species of animal has its own safety distance, so what's our safety distance? How far does our courage or fear go?
6 metros. A 6 metros de distancia del jaguar. Es que tenemos aquí todos los mosquitos de Costa Rica más dentro del high. Lo cual creo que nos van a devorar.
Once we're all well hidden, all we can do is wait.
¿Están las luces encendidas, no? Sí. Ah, ok.
Filming jaguars meant overcoming one of the most difficult challenges we gave ourselves. Now it's time to turn to our other goals. From the beaches of the Pacific, we head to the Great Plains that stretch between Colombia and Venezuela. Our mission this time is to look for a gigantic reptile that can measure up to 12 meters in length, the legendary anaconda. To find the biggest snake in the world, we're going to the equally legendary region of Los Llanos.
Los Llanos are a vast South American plain that alternates between periods of intense flooding and severe drought. We spent some time living with ranchers in the wildest, most remote region of Los Llanos. And while we stayed with them, we lived exactly as the llaneros do. We slept in their homes and ate their food. The simple but austere life of the ranchers, their endurance really overwhelmed us. Every day we were impressed by their resilience and the skill with which they handled their stock. And we were amazed to see that the oldest ranchers prefer to go barefoot. The combination of heat, dryness, and ticks make every day here tough.
So we've just arrived in the heart of Los Llanos, where we're going to stay for several days, moving from place to place. This is the first place we're going to film in the region. And it seems that there aren't enough hammocks for the whole team. And of course, we've also got to get the equipment ready and make sure it all works. And so we've had to make a table and some chairs, and even look for electrical sockets so we can charge the batteries and get the computers working.
No sé reconocer la pieza. Esta es la cabeza.
¿Es la cabeza? No. No, la cabeza la ponen completa.
Ya quedó abierta, papá. Sí, señor. Ya está. No, me toca. No, ya está, ya está, ya está, ya está.
Tiene que dejar la candela ahí para cuando ya vaya de la tarde, volver a calentarla ahí como yo ya quería.
We head out every morning for a few days in search of green anacondas.
Ah, ya la vi, ya la vi. Uy, ya la vi.
And finally, we're in luck.
Cuidado, cuidado, cuidado. Cuidado. Ella no los va a morder, pero sí se puede salir por ahí.
It's a huge individual, more than 8 meters long. Our biologist guides try to hold it so we can get some close-up shots.
Quítense para que Chimo pueda hacer la...
posición de ataque. Un poquitín. Ahí, muy cerca, muy cerca, muy cerca. Recuerda que a menos de 30 no tienes poco.
But apart from the anaconda, there was something else on the horizon that scared us even more. Dinner.
There's good reason to be afraid of many of the animals that we want to film in America. Deadly poisonous snakes, unknown insects that could bite us, gigantic crocodiles. But it was in Los Llanos that we had our most terrifying experience.
We're facing a challenge that none of us know how to deal with.
¿Quién quiere el ojo?
And good manners mean there's no way we can get out of it. The ranchers have prepared a dinner for us with a great deal of love and attention. The favorite dish of the region, boiled cow's head.
Por favor, la balota ahí, ¿quién se lo va a comer?
It's not exactly a stew. It's not even seasoned. It's simply the head of a cow boiled in its own skin. And this celebratory menu is all in our honor. But for us, it really is an ordeal. After a long, hard day out in the heat of the plains, we can't miss the banquet.
Siento como si hubiésemos aprobado un examen muy difícil.
Salud.
Not unlike the battle we fought with the anaconda, it's another one. We only just make it through.
Salud.
We'd already filmed the giant anaconda, and we were able to complete the sequence with a smaller one. These gigantic snakes, which can exceed 10 meters in length, hide in the mud and undergrowth. The anacondas lie there waiting for the rains to return, but also for any unsuspecting animal to pass by. They will often lie hidden in their ambush positions for days. But when they detect a tired traveler passing nearby, they'll come out of hiding. Exhausted young migrating caiman would seem like an excellent opportunity for a young anaconda. But the caiman are not too willing to become someone else's dinner. Young and tired they may be, but they still have enough strength to defend their lives to the last. Nothing can stop these young caiman from reaching one of Los Llanos' few remaining oases, not even a hungry anaconda.
Now we've got some excellent footage for two outstanding sequences of the jaguar and the anaconda. So we continue to push ourselves. Our next challenge is to find the biggest and most powerful eagle on the planet. Its imposing face and physical form make it another American legend. We want to find the harpy eagle. This challenge has also got its element of danger. But this time it's not the fear of being devoured by a great predator. It's a very common fear. Simply the fear of heights.
Interestingly, the only two members of the team that don't have problems with heights are our two youngest colleagues, Felipe and Sebastián.
Vale, ya lo tengo montado.
Te agarras mano izquierda arriba.
They do an intensive rope climbing course in preparation for filming the harpy eagle's nest we've located.
Sáquelos con la derecha, sáquela acá.
Aquí está bloqueada, pero si cierro ya está dentro.
But before they can put their newly learned skills to the test, we have to build a platform, dozens of meters up, in the middle of the jungle.
Ánimo, ánimo.
And now it's time for the guys to put their brief training into practice. Getting up to the platform is another tough test, but they get through it with flying colors.
Vamos a explicar un poquito qué es lo que llevamos aquí arriba para capturar todo. Aquí tiene Felipe la grabadora de sonido. Esa la ponemos en la parte trasera de la plataforma para capturar todo el sonido ambiental de atrás. Y luego ahí delante tenemos los micros para capturar todo lo que rodea al nido hacia adelante. Y luego Felipe lleva el tele corto para poder hacer planos generales y no perdernos la entrada de los padres. Y yo llevo el tele largo para poder hacer primeros planos y que no nos perdamos el detalle.
For a couple of days, our intrepid young climbers wait, and then all our effort and patience pays off. The chick is already well grown, but its ever-vigilant parents still bring it food every 2 or 3 days. Luck is on our side. We get to film the whole family together. The growing chick, its mother, the biggest and strongest member of the family, and the father, the great hunter, providing food for everyone. Mission accomplished.
From the jungles of Panama, our small team heads towards an even greater challenge. We want to find one of the strangest birds on the planet, so we have no choice but to descend into the depths of the abyss.
In the foothills of the Andes, gigantic caves and chasms hundreds of meters high plunge downwards, and they are our next destination. We're on the hunt for what the locals call guacharos, the very strange oil birds. To film the reclusive oil bird, we don't go up, we go down into the earth. These birds construct their nests deep in inaccessible caves. So we've come to Colombia and the Hoyo del Aire. The only way we can undertake this mission is by enlisting the help of local climbing and caving experts. Reaching the guacharos requires knowledge and courage, a lot of it. So once again, Felipe and Sebas are the ones marked for glory. The rest of us would be useless, given our combined vertigo and terror of heights.
Ahora, libérelo y páselo al otro lado.
Getting down isn't easy.
El Hoyo del Aire es una dolina colapsada que se formó por una corriente subterránea que fue erosionando la roca hasta que una gran nave, el techo de la nave colapsó y por eso tenemos la formación que podemos ver. Tiene un diámetro de más o menos 100 metros y una profundidad de 165 y se formó durante la época del Pleistoceno aproximadamente.
Dale, ahí baja perfecto.
¿Es mejor bajar rápido o lento? Ay, bendito sea el Altísimo. Ah, pero ya está. Giovanni. Cuerdas libres, sanos y salvos.
But once on the ground, our young explorers have to go under it. It's time for caving.
Venga, lo llevamos entre los dos. Más fácil. Ya, dejémoslo ahí. Ahí se queda. Guácala, ¿qué es esto?
¿Qué es guácala?
Esto.
¿Arañas?
No, es como...
Los pies adelante. Vale. Aquí hay una bajada. Aquí.
It requires a huge physical effort, but it's worth it as we finally get our reward.
Ahí está, mira, ahí está. Mira, repísala, ¿ves?
Y hay otro más arriba.
Ya hay otro. Mira, ahí ese tiene polluelos, mira.
Ay, sí.
Vale, vamos a poner el trípode entonces.
But there's no time for us to rest. To film Wild America, we cross the whole continent back and forth, almost non-stop. From the Andes, we slip across into the flooded Amazon region. The Amazon is still the largest forest in the world, and there we begin our next adventure, in search of strange monkeys and the even stranger pink river dolphin. The flooded forest is so gigantic that for many kilometers in all directions, there isn't a square meter of dry land. For the next month, we're going to be totally waterborne, in canoes, dinghies, rafts, all kinds of floating craft. And filming from constantly moving boats is a nightmare.
It doesn't matter what they tell you or how often they tell you or how much you study and research it yourself. You can't really imagine what the Amazon is like, how magnificent it is, until you're actually here. Right now we're in the Amazon's flooded forest, the largest jungle in the world that floods with the rains. From where I am right now, for dozens of kilometers in every direction, you can only walk right here.
Ahora mismo estamos en la reserva.
We're in the Mamirawa Nature Reserve, right in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, the flooded part. We've come here because it's the only place we can organize our expedition from, as we look for, above all, monkeys.
La única manera que tenemos.
The only way we can get deep into the jungle to look for the monkeys is in canoes and kayaks. There's no other way because there are no roads or paths here. It's a bit complicated because the canoes are very narrow and our equipment is very large and very heavy. So there's a risk of overbalancing. But there's no way around it. We'll set out from here in the morning and we'll be filming for hours deep inside the jungle well into the afternoon. When the jungle floods, the animals that live on the ground have to go up. So right now, among the branches of the trees, there are rodents, snakes, and a multitude of insects. All the animals, those that don't drown, have to go up. And then the sort of opposite happens. All the animals that live on the river suddenly find they have a whole new territory just for them, which is actually the forest floor. So beneath our canoes there may be pink dolphins, an infinite number of fish. Remember that there are up to 3,000 different species of fish in the Amazon, and crocodiles and yacare caiman. Our main aim is to film the monkeys that are high up in the trees. We have an advantage now because with the level of the river having risen, we're around 12 meters higher up. But we also have a slight disadvantage. This is the largest flooded jungle in the world. It covers an area half the size of Spain. So sometimes it's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Está muy alto y muy cubierto por la vegetación. Ahí no podemos tirar.
But despite the considerable technical complications, we're able to get some great shots of flower-eating monkeys, a real rarity, something that's very difficult to see in the wild. Manguba flowers are a rare treat. They only last one day. The buds open at night and live for barely 12 hours. In that short time, the flowers have to be pollinated to ensure the next generation of fruit and trees. Troops of black-striped capuchin monkeys seek out the manguba trees in the last hours of daylight before the buds open in the dark. All the members of the group join the feast. It's now or never. By morning, most of the flowers will have wilted away. One way or another, in a few hours, the manguba flowers float on the river. But the Amazon never ceases to offer up surprises. After a couple of days on the water, we go in search of the Amazon river dolphin.
Llevamos cerca de 10 días en barco.
We've been on the water for about 10 days. First on boats, then canoes, hollowed-out trees, rafts and so on. We're exhausted from the constant movement of the water and from squatting down in the boats and hardly walking. So as soon as we saw this little island, we got off the water to walk around for a bit. We're on the Negro River, which is where we want to film the pink dolphins. Well, actually, they're not pink. They're actually grey, but what happens is that living in the Negro River makes them look pink because of one simple thing. The water of the Negro is coloured pink because of the tannins that come from all the plant matter that is deposited in the river throughout the year. The forests flood every year and a lot of the wood is carried away. And what that wood does is it makes the water in the river change colour. So the dolphins are actually grey, but submerged in the water, which is coloured brown by the tannins, the dolphins look pink. So the closer to the surface they are, the greyer they look. The lower they go, the pinker they seem. Almost red even. Getting images of the pink dolphins is not, in theory, very easy at all. But there are two places in the Amazon and on the Negro River where man and dolphin have reached an agreement, and both species benefit. The communities that protect and know how to live with the dolphins attract ecotourism. And the pink dolphins benefit because it's a species in danger of extinction, and this place is safe for them. And that's a stroke of luck for us, because, like most dolphins, they're very sociable animals.
After having ventured deep into the flooded forest, where the rivers of the Amazon region seem almost like the sea, we head in the opposite direction, literally and metaphorically, to the other end of South America and the driest desert in the world, the Atacama.
The Atacama region stretches across a huge area of land between the Andes and the coast of the Pacific Ocean. We wanted to film both the interior of the desert, the driest in the world, and also along the coasts, where large colonies of birds and seals congregate. But right from the start, things didn't go exactly as planned.
Para desembarcar es un misterio. No hay muelle, no hay atracadero, no hay playa, hay rocas. El bote se tiene que acercar y tenemos que saltar.
Con este movimiento tenemos que desembarcar en las rocas. Y la cosa cada vez se va poniendo más fea.
The coastline of Atacama is one of the richest places in the world in terms of wildlife. The cold waters of the ocean are full of nutrients, and birds and marine mammals enthusiastically settle in its vicinity. Our plan was to make landfall in search of colonies of seabirds. But some years, when the ocean currents warm up, everything changes. We travel up and down the coast looking for colonies of birds, but sadly this year there simply aren't any. The waterborne nutrients haven't materialized, and the birds haven't nested.
Otro más. Ay, no. Suerte, suerte.
Yo le dije que esta cuestión era malo, ¿no?
Sí, pero mal.
Te puedes lastimar, yo le dije que esta cosa no está como va.
Pablo, ¿estás bien?
Seguro.
The sea's dangerous all along this coast, and despite our best efforts, we have to admit failure and look for alternative options.
¡Eso!
Pablo.
Uno menos.
¿Dónde te golpeaste?
Nada, no te has hecho nada.
No.
¿Seguro?
No es nada. Es más el frío.
Claro.
Pero es que no podemos arriesgar, ¿eh?
No.
Lo malo no es esto,
lo malo es subir ahí arriba. Sí, ya lo hemos estado hablando.
Eventually, we have to accept that the rugged coastline has defeated us in our search for seabird colonies. So we decide to play it safe and make for the only possible landing site. From here, we'll be able to film South American sea lions. Setting up camp on an island is not an easy task.
Todo este equipaje que veis aquí, todo, tiene que subir hasta allí arriba. Las escaleras que se ven, que son bastante peligrosas, están muy deterioradas. Entonces no podemos utilizar esas escaleras. Tenemos que subir por aquel sendero que veis allí. Aquel hace un zigzag y luego vamos todo por la cumbre hasta llegar aquí arriba. Yo creo que hoy nos va a llevar casi toda la jornada subir todo esto arriba y montar el campamento.
Afortunadamente nos encontramos unos trabajadores acá en la isla y nos prestaron esa polea que está allá arriba para subir las cosas. Entonces, igual es una logística grande porque hay que subir todo este equipaje que tenemos aquí por la polea. La idea es que allá arriba esté el resto del equipo y nosotros aquí con Guillermo el cocinero estamos amarrando las cosas y subiéndolas.
Son las 6 de la tarde. Acabamos de terminar de subir todo esto con la cuerda por ahí, como habéis visto, tirando. Ha sido muy duro. Llevamos desde las 9 de la mañana que salimos de tierra. Son las 6 de la tarde, todavía no hemos montado el campamento que nos queda.
This place might lay claim to being one of the windiest places in the world, but we have no choice but to tough it out here for a few days. Filming here is hard work. The harsh sun, fierce wind, biting cold all play their part in creating a wild, desolate environment. But it's just the sort of place that South American sea lions like. They're so comfortable here and so focused on the matters in hand. It's the mating season after all. We get lots of shots of passion and confrontation. The spectacular coasts of the Atacama region leave us with some bittersweet sensations. We aren't able to film everything we hoped for, but there's no time to get downhearted. Our adventure is not over yet. And so we head for one of the remotest regions on Earth, Patagonia.
En nuestras expediciones muchas veces...
We often have to improvise on our expeditions, but this time, in Patagonia, we were very lucky. Patagonia is the home of Magellanic penguins. They're so abundant here that they've even become like little symbols of the region, and their colonies are the most prolific, the largest on the whole planet.
A ver, chavalín, a ver si lo vamos a romper. Vamos por aquí, ¿vale?
Hemos estado en la selva, hemos estado...
We've been in the jungle, we've been in the Andes, we've been to a lot of places where it's often really quite difficult to film wildlife. Places that demand all kinds of effort. The physical side, trying to see what options we might have, looking for animals which sometimes hide from us, making it very tricky to get the pictures we want. Now we're at the southern cone of South America, on the Valdez Peninsula. This is where one of the largest colonies of penguins in the world can be found. The colony behind me stretches for almost 5 kilometers. It's a colony that right now has around 300,000 individuals, and at dusk they go out to call and sing, to fight, to cool off a bit. In about a month, another 300,000 chicks will hatch. So more than 500,000 animals will be gathered here together. So when you get to see that, it's great to be able to film it. It really is one of the most amazing wildlife shows in all America.
Patagonia is a truly wild landscape where many animals that have disappeared from the rest of the continent manage to maintain their existence. Our shooting days are extremely intense, but just as fruitful. Here in Patagonia, we have the opportunity to make all kinds of field notes and even jot down ideas for future scripts and programs. Our cameras roll non-stop, and we get images never seen before of guanacos, armadillos, and martinettas. the desolate appearance of this landscape is deceptive, the fauna here is extraordinarily varied.
We still have to visit another legendary place in South America, the longest mountain range on the planet, the Andes.
We travel across vast areas of the Andes in search of spectacled Andean bears, great condors, and other examples of the very diverse wildlife which is adapted to the harsh conditions of these mountains.
We've spent almost 2 months traveling around the Andes on our expedition in search of the strangest and most extraordinary fauna in America. Right now, we're at an altitude of almost 4,000 meters at Lake Titicaca. And here we've come to a very small island, La Isla de la Luna, or the Island of the Moon. We've come here to look at a very special frog. We've been exploring the shores of Lake Titicaca for a few days. On our walks, we've seen a lot of dead ducks and other birds that live here on the lake. This is a grebe, a bird in danger of extinction. It's a good-sized Titicaca grebe. Here's the head of a seagull. Its beak is more versatile, so it can exploit a lot of different resources. And here's the head of a duck. It probably died by getting its legs tangled up in fishing nets when swimming. We think that they probably get caught up in fishermen's nets, and since the fishermen on the lake aren't especially fond of them, because they see them as competition for the fish in the lake aren't very big, so they're catching relatively small fish. They put their nets out, and when the diving birds see the fish in the nets, they try to catch them. Most likely they die tangled up in these nets. This may lead to some species going extinct, or at least becoming critically endangered. It's necessary but quite difficult to explain that the price these birds pay for eating a few fish is not too much. Considering that these birds are special, they only live here, and they could bring ornithological tourism here, which is very important in the world. The Titicaca frog is a very special animal. It's really quite unusual, and that's why we want to show it to you. To be able to film at this altitude, Sebas, our designated underwater camera operator, had to take a special course to learn about high-altitude diving, so he could look for the frogs here. Diving at 4,000 meters is very different from diving at sea level, which is the most common kind of diving. But you'll see the results are spectacular and totally worth the effort.
Like so many other plants and animals in America, the Titicaca water frog is terribly at risk. Its populations have decreased dramatically over recent years. Fortunately, however, measures are being taken to try to save it. Latin America is still one of the wildest and most biodiverse continents on the planet. Protecting its vast, magnificent ecosystems and all the beings that inhabit them must be a priority for all of us.
nuestra serie.
Wild America is a witness to this wealth of wildlife. But it's also a manifesto of the need to protect and preserve the wildlife of America and all its wonderful landscapes. Join us on our adventure.